A small town, only 100,000 people. Those 100,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together. The Green Bay Packers. In Titletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family.
We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Sanjay and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience.
Friendship, family, and football.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Freezer Podcast.
We are back. This is the Freezer Podcast, where we bring you a local field Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I'm Sanjay, and alongside me, like always, is Fred and Matt. And we are live here in our home studios, brought to you by Game On Wisconsin, brought to you by Artec Ventures and Lakefront Brewery. And boys, we are 9-3. Victory Monday is upon us, and we are feeling good today. And feeling a little full from some other stuff too, but we are here. It is a good,
and it's not Thanksgiving.
It's not Thanksgiving. It ain't that bird. It ain't that bird. I'll tell you that right now. But
yeah, why don't we just address the elephant in the room?
The elephant fucking in the room.
Yeah, why don't we address it?
Well, yeah, actually,
last week you guys promised me the stage. You told me I could have. But I want to instead delegate my time to you two, where you can kiss everyone's ass, mine included, for picking against the boys who showed up and got hooked up for us. Come on.
The stage is set for that guy. Oh, that guy.
See, you know what's so weird about it is that, like, you are so excited about it, Sanjay, but yet you've been picking us to lose for years.
Like,
he's just happy to have company.
What I do for the show is my own business. What you do is on your own conscience.
No.
First off, that's on your own. That's not. Don't put it on me. This is what you do. This is what addicts do. They just find someone else to blame. You know,
addicts. Like how you're like addicted to picking us to lose. Yeah, you're an addict.
Yeah. I do it for my show. I do it for the chips. I do it for the fans. I do it for the glory of the anticipation of them being on the edge of their seat, of understanding what the hell is this idiot gonna pick this time. Like, that's what I do. That's what I do.
That's the last comment you made about what is this idiot going to do is probably the most accurate comment you made out of all of it.
Hey,
so let me take it. Let me take it.
Go ahead.
Let me say what I have to say. So this is going to sound like a deflection. So Sanjay, keep your mouth shut for 5 seconds. What I will say is that coming off the loss against Minnesota, Jenkins going down, emotions were running high. It was a day removed. I may or may not have made the biggest mistake in my entire life. And that is choosing us to lose, which, if you were there for the show, if you watched the show, you saw, you physically, literally, emotionally, mentally, everything, saw my soul leave my body, and just pure sadness reigned over me. Matt's mom,
my own mom.
Me. My mom was reaching out to me like, "Are you okay?" My mom literally texted me. This is so, like, Sanjay, I know you think I care. I don't give two shits about your thought process on this. Matt, I do care about, because I do understand, like, we have something. But this is what hurt. This is what hurt the most. Is my mom texted me and she said, "Your dad and grandpa would be so disappointed in you."
Oh,
and
she
I
had
was
the D word.
And I knew
I'm
it.
not mad. I'm disappointed.
She didn't have to say it, but she didn't have to say it, but she needed to. And it was, I still didn't pick him to lose by more than 3, like Sanjay, who picked him to lose by much more.
20.
It was still the only time I've ever picked them to lose. And honestly, I don't really believe it, because it didn't feel like a genuine pick to lose.
Shut the hell up. You said it.
But all I will say is that at least I know that when I go to sleep at night, that the one time in my life that I made a very minuscule field goal of a mistake, you have to go to sleep knowing that you've had hundreds of points put up against us in losses. And I can go back on all the old Freezer podcasts and I can pull up all the times you said we would lose.
It's true. I have picked us to lose because I'm realistic. You know,
but don't say it because of the show.
Oh, I do
not
say
because of the show.
It is for the show. It's realistic.
Well, then you're bullshit. Then you're telling everybody that you're bullshit, and that's not good either.
I'm not bullshit. I'm just saying I pick what I think is in my heart. All right. I do think that we had a chance to lose that game. We did. The O-line, the defensive line of theirs. You said the same thing.
I said it. You're right. Because the Cards,
I was basing it off of the game.
Against us.
The game, not the heart. Not the heart. The heart always says I'm cheering for my team, but based on the paper, yes.
Yeah, on paper, I was looking at it, and I think Aaron Donald, Von Miller against Yash and Runyon and everybody. I was like, there's no way. Now, I will eat that crow raw, cold, day after. That offensive line is impressive.
No, you know what though? There's some blame at this guy too. There's some blame on this.
There's no blame on me. There's no blame.
Little asshole always comes in here trying to act all high and mighty, like he'll never pick against the Packers. But then if you look at his text frames, he's always like the one who's like on like cloud. He's like on tilt as far as when the Packers are going to lose. He's if you've ever seen this guy tweet during a game. Watch the last couple of years. Watch the last couple of years. This guy tweet during a game. He's absolutely psychopathic. All right.
Listen,
so don't just because he may not make a prediction on live television, just does not mean he doesn't believe that we're gonna lose. Because he'll text us in the morning, boys. I don't know about this one. Hey, you know. So he's that closet pessimist.
I'll say this really quick. Matt is a diehard fan, but you're right, Sanjay. There have been times, and Matt will attribute to it, where the tweet game got the best of him.
Yeah, I did.
Me and Matt even had
your mouth, Matt Jensen.
Matt even had to say one time, "Hey, we can't do this anymore. We can't be tweeting during games."
Listen. First of all, zip it. A lot of talking from you up there. Sip it. All right. First of all,
you delegated it to us.
Yeah.
I did.
You
delegated it.
I regretted it. You know what? We should just remove this guy. Let's just remove it.
All right, there we go.
If you can't handle it, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. You can bring up our private messages all you want. You can throw up this picture. You guys can do whatever you want. The fact remains that both of you clowns both predicted a loss here. Yes. Not me. True. And you could sit here and say, "Oh, I based it on realism. I based it." That's fine. That's fine. You still picked it wrong. Not me. So you can throw all the dirt you want on me, but it's just deflecting from the truth, which is that you were wrong again.
Well, again, unless Aaron Rodgers is not playing quarterback, I probably will not be making a bet against us ever again.
All right. So nobody cares about us. Let's get to the game.
So let's get to the game. We won. It's big time. We had to get this out there for all you fans out there because you know what? I'm sure you guys are at the edge of your seats and wonder what Fred was going to say. What the hell? I was actually don't give a shit what I say because you guys are always thinking, "Oh, Sanjay, what the hell?" But yes, Pigpen. Pigpen is right here.
Where's Sanjay? Where's Sanjay's pick, by the way? Where's his
I don't need a pick. I am the pick. I give you a daily dose of idiocy every week. All right, that's what I do.
All right, you're the mascot. Okay.
All right, let's roll.
All right, so big win, obviously at home. The crowd was ruckus with Fred and his boy, little E, at the game, and obviously a big. Let's just hang out before we get anywhere. Let's let Fred have the floor here on the Charles Woodson induction. Being in the banner, having his banner dropped and being in the Ring of Honor, next to Brett Favre of all people, which is huge. Fred, take us through that moment. Obviously, you got to hear it literally, with your own ears in the stadium. How was that moment with Charles Woodson?
I did get to hear it with my own ears. That was impressive.
Incredible.
Wow, you're just in a top shelf. Yeah, great job.
Hey, I mean, if you were Matt a week earlier, you probably didn't hear it. So
yeah, it was everything that I was hoping for it to be. It was perfect. The setting was perfect. The scene was perfect. For him to go next to Favre was great. It was right over my right shoulder is where he basically got inducted. But it was a weird kind of I basically almost started to cry because I was so excited for him,
Absolutely.
and I had to like act cool. And every time I tried to scream and yell, my voice would crack. But I was trying to be cool. But it was super emotional for me. So there, like for a couple of reasons. One, all-time favorite player, right? Besides my grandpa, Charles Woodson's my absolute all-time favorite player. I mean, Brett Favre is obviously within that top 3. But Charles Woodson is just, he's everything to me. And I remember growing up and watching him at Michigan play, and me and my mom would watch those games. And I remember just thinking, like, he was the guy, he played both sides of the ball. He kick, punt returns, kick returns. I mean, that's like what you grow up like wanting to be, right? Like you want to be every position. You want to be the guy. He was the guy, Heisman winner. And when we brought him over to Green Bay, that was surreal. I remember thinking there's no way this is going to happen. I was so excited about it. And he lived up to everything I ever imagined him to be, both on and off the field. And he's without a doubt my favorite player. And just, I couldn't be happier for him. And I'm super excited that he got to go up there. And I'm jacked that I get to look over my right shoulder and see Charles Woodson's name for the rest of my life.
Yeah, as Charles said, now I'm there forever. I played there 7 years.
Yeah.
Now I'm here forever. I don't have a lot to add to that. I wasn't there, but I will say, Charles Woodson, that signing, man, and you look back on it, it kind of is like the most recent Reggie White type signing. It's like altering one side of the football completely, a guy that's universally respected. Everybody loved Charles Woodson, just a badass of a badass. So glad he's immortalized in Lambeau Field, deservedly so.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I got to see it. Like there's gonna be so many moments in my life where I'm like, okay, I got to see Rodgers. I don't know if my kid's gonna get to see Rodgers, we'll see. It's great that Charlie gets to see it. It's great that Madison gets to see it, but like it's cool that we were able to see Charles Woodson, and that is one of the like greatest 7 years. I mean, for sure 6 years, because his first year was kind of like we'll see what happens. But his 7 years here were just kind of like, like you said, it reminds you of a Reggie White signing, right? It was just like, what can this guy do? He's searching for that ring. Can we do it? Do we have the quarterback to do it? Which we ended up finding out we did. And to see him kind of go, and I was so shocked that like I really didn't know if he was going to be up in the Ring of Honor. I knew he'd probably be in the Packer Hall of Fame. I was a little, honestly, in my opinion, it was kind of a shock to me that he'd be in the Ring of Honor for his short stint. But
that's what I thought too.
Right, but like obviously his accolades and his production and what he
became a Hall of Famer in Green Bay.
Right.
He wasn't before he got here, but he became one when he was here.
Well, and I think that's the whole point. Like that's why he belongs up there. That's why it makes sense. I mean, the fact that he became a Hall of Famer here, the fact that he was a captain and led us to a Super Bowl. Obviously it's a team sport, but he was so integral in that. And then I just think, everything that he embodied both on and off the field was just, it's exactly what a Packer is. And he was the perfect Packer in my book. So
I want to ask you something.
It makes sense.
And this is not a hot take or anything. I'm just a simple question, but like, because he got in, and I know he's on a whole different level, but that was obviously, forget what he did in Oakland. And like, obviously you look at his body of work in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Do you see any sort of way like that Clay Matthews is on the same level in his time frame? Because Clay Matthews, arguably should have had a Defensive Player of the Year. Didn't get it. He got outdone by Troy Polamalu that year, I believe.
That's a super good question. I don't know.
I'm not trying to say that he is a Ring of Honor guy.
Yeah,
but I'm just
I guess my thought process. I mean, ultimately he'll have to get into the Hall of Fame to get on the Ring of Honor. I don't think you can't. One goes with the other. That being said, he has a chance. That being said, half of me would initially say probably not. But when you really break it down and you think about, sack leader and big part of that Super Bowl run, and he basically kind of had the same resume as Charles Woodson did in Green Bay. So it would be hard to argue that. However, I think that obviously Charles getting into the Hall of Fame, and then I think Charles's entire body of work kind of adds to him getting into the Hall of Fame, which then therefore adds to him getting on the Ring of Honor.
Matt, how about you?
Yeah, he was obviously an excellent Packer. I think he goes down as the all-time sack leader if you don't count all those years they didn't keep record, way back in the 50s and 40s or whatever it was. But
yeah,
he'll definitely be a Packer Hall of Famer, but I don't think he's going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. I think he would have had. I mean, he was the best of the best for like a 2 or 3 year stretch. he kind of just drifted off year by year. I think if he kept that up for 2 or 3 more seasons, he played at that level, I think he had a shot. But in the end, he's just going to be one of the great Packers, but not a Hall of Famer.
I just wanted to pose a question out there just because of based on the time frame. But let's talk about the Rams game real quick. Not real quick, but quick. We will kind of see this as a game that I know Matt and I were talking before the show. Like the talking heads in media obviously are seeing how dismantled the Rams are based off this loss. But it's like, I mean, that's why we have that's why you guys have us to talk about how awesome we destroyed them. Really. In all phases of the game, pretty much, except for the one miss by Mason Crosby, but and technically the the fumble by Randall Cobb. But the biggest thing that we're going to probably talk about is this defense. I mean, we'll talk about the offense. We usually talk about offense first. Let's talk defense today first. The performance that they played, or that the performance that they did that night, I just feel like you've seen what Joe Barry has had to work with for about 12 weeks now. He's had like a slew of injuries. He's had guys in and out of the roster. He's had he's had his cornerstone guys like a Kenny Clark. He's had Amos and Savage obviously all year. So it's like he's had a couple guys, and Preston obviously one of his own guys that he had back in Washington. But this defense really showed you grit, and I love that Matt talked about grit in one of his tweets, and it's just that and he had mentioned beating all 4 teams in the vaunted NFC West that they proclaimed to be the best division in football. But this defense, with the grit that they show and the relentlessness, even if they want to throw up, I mean, Stafford did have 300 some yards. It is that little bit of a bend don't break, but like they never really I mean, yeah, you can have a lot of yards. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the points are what that matters. And I saw some sort of stat that the red zone were like 30th and something else were like 27th yards, I think it was. But like in scoring or points, we're 5th. We're not giving up the actual points. So, guys, Matt, what's your thought, at least on the defensive side? I know Bane Gary was obviously one of the guys that you wanted to look at this week with his return. He obviously was a monster with the big strip of Matthew Stafford. Let's start with Bane Gary.
Yeah, and before I get into it, I wanted to say that the Packers dominated this game from front to beginning to end. I mean, the scoreboard, if you didn't watch the game and you saw the box score, you'd probably think, wow, it was a competitive game. I honestly thought, number one, Green Bay left a 50 burger on the board. They left one on the field. They could have scored 50 points, and they were playing well enough to do it. And other than a couple of broken plays where, the defense gave up some long passes, they whipped them up front. They were dominant the whole game. I mean, at no point did you ever feel like the Rams offense was really pressing the Packers defense and they couldn't stop them. They couldn't find that one play they needed. They gave up the long bomb to Van Jefferson. They gave up the one to OBJ. But other than that, they kept Cooper Kupp in check. He didn't have over 100 yards. He had 9 or 10 catches. But the huge difference to me was Rashawn coming back. And you saw last week when we played the Vikings, they didn't have their top 3 rushers. You saw what happened. You could, Cousins had all the time in the world despite the amount of pressures the Packers brought. So he was a huge contributor. Felt right away, obviously, that pressure on Stafford causing the fumble. Preston picks it up. But from there, look at the secondary then. Excuse me. I thought Eric Stokes had a fine game. I thought Rasul Douglas looked great. Obviously, has the pick 6 that kind of in the end iced the game away. Nobody's perfect. He gave a couple of passes, but when you look at this team, guys, there's not a team in the NFL to me that I don't think Green Bay can go stride for stride with on defense. I think they're one of the tougher teams, and I said on Twitter, I think they're the grittiest, toughest, most battle-tested team in the NFL. And we've seen them go against Arizona. We thought they were going to get waxed. They didn't. That defense stepped up big time. I mean, the Rams, again, other than a couple of plays, I thought that they completely bottled them up. So, it stopped the bleeding against the Vikings. They were a huge reason why they won yesterday. And if the Packers are going to keep this momentum going out of the bye, the defense is going to play maybe the biggest role in that.
Go ahead, Fred. The defense is it's remarkable. It's straight up remarkable. And I don't know how else to put it, because when you look at everything that's kind of been put out there on that platter, right? You have these incredible injuries. You have arguably your best pass rusher going into the season, and Za'Darius isn't playing. Jair, arguably the best corner in the game, goes down. He's been out for a while now. Bane Gary goes out for a week. And yet, no matter what the situation, no matter what the task, they rise up to it. And your point with Arizona and LA Rams, I mean, those were two teams that I thought, I don't care even if our defense was fully stacked,
right?
I would be afraid of going against them. And both of those games, we absolutely dominated them defensively. So I don't know. I mean, there's no one left. There's no one left in the NFL that I look at and I think they're just so good offensively. There's so many weapons. We're gonna have a hard time against them, right? Like, I just don't see it. Maybe it's Tampa Bay, but I don't know anymore. I feel like now we've crossed that threshold. Yeah, but I see like our threshold of not being tough, like Matt pointed out, we are tough now. And I think that's always been the thing that's brought us down. But there's a couple other things that I wanted to kind of point out. Obviously, Rashawn Gary coming back, his presence is bigger than anyone even can imagine. You just saw it. You saw it as soon as he took the field. His ability, he had a hit the quarterback a couple times, a sack, a forced fumble. I mean, guys, it's incredible. Another name that I know you guys didn't intentionally forget about, but Kenny Clark is playing lights out.
Yes,
absolutely lights
out.
Outplayed
Aaron Donald.
100%. Without a doubt. I mean, he looked absolutely fantastic. That is super fun to watch. His progression. Both guys, Clark and Gary, under 25 each, I believe.
Gary's 23.
Gary, Clark 24, maybe, exactly. I think. Like, what the hell?
Bro.
Right? Clark's the oldest 24-year-old of all time.
Yeah, yes. Jair's 23, 24. I mean, Savage is 24. I mean, we're talking about a nucleus-based defense right now, guys, that we can have for a very long time. I like the way that Preston Smith's been playing. He's been playing kind of at that nice little leader. He kind of makes a play here or there, but he's holding down the side. I appreciate that. And then Amos playing great. Savage, we talk about them every week. That secondary is just fantastic. They do a great job. You're right, holding Cooper Kupp to that. Couple big plays. Beckham only having one. That was big. But I got to give mad props to Gutekunst and bringing in Rasul Douglas, man, because when nobody else wanted him, to bring him in and for him to have such an impact and to just be making plays is just such a classic Packer free agent pickup. Like, for every 15 or 20 that suck, guys, that what he does, you're gonna land on a Rasul Douglas, you're gonna land on a Howard Green, you're gonna land on these guys once in a while that aren't going to go to the Hall of Fame, and they're probably not going to be the greatest player to ever play for the Green Bay Packers.
They find their spot.
They're going to make a couple plays, and they're going to make a couple plays that we're not going to remember at the end of the year. But when we really go back and start to think about some of these big games that we won, it's the Rasul Douglas pick six. It's the fact that he had 4 pass breakups yesterday. Like, that's impressive for somebody that was on the street, quote unquote, not that long ago.
Well, Fred's real quick. It's a great point, Fred, about you finding these role players on those championship caliber teams. Howard Green is a great call out from the 2010 team, but you need those kind of guys when you're making that run for a Lombardi. You look back, and I'm sure you go to any Super Bowl team in the last however many years you want to look at, and they had 2 or 3 of those guys where, he wasn't on the team, they brought him in, but he made an immediate impact. And Rasul Douglas, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a more productive signing. He's responsible for the 2 biggest interceptions of the entire year, the 2 biggest defensive plays of the entire year. I mean, what a pickup. And like Aaron Rodgers said, I can't believe he was sitting on a practice squad.
Right. And I'm going to say this real quick too. You've seen what the Rams have tried to do. Cut all their picks, trade them away, get these big name players. And what Fred said about all these guys at their age, this is a team that even if Rodgers isn't here, or if whoever is the next quarterback, or whatever is the next, 5-6 years, that is one thing we got to stop giving Gutekunst crap about, because you know what? He has set us up for longer success than a lot of GMs have. I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they're giving away all their picks, like, what do the Rams really have? Cam Akers? Now, that was a good draft pick. Fine. All right. I'll give you that. Van Jefferson, probably good pick right there. But like, where's their production other than outside the guys that they just traded for?
They're like the all-in.
Yeah, that's
they're
fine.
like the all in the Packer fans dream of, like, oh, they go and get the big names, big names.
Which is, I've been guilty of that, right? I've been guilty of it.
we
all
are,
guy, right?
But I think this example needs to be, people need to swallow this pill and understand how good Gutekunst is, what he's done, the team he's put together, the coaches he's brought in, and the stability he's brought here. They are, like as Fred did point out, what a nucleus, and they still have all their draft picks.
And know that you have a good roster.
And the thing too is that we're talking about defense here, and we're not even like, there's still a fantastic offensive nucleus with AJ Dillon.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
offensive linemen, Tunyon, DeGuara. I mean, there's a lot of talent there on the offensive side that we've drafted. So, there's a lot to be said about, pulling a Madden type world, and you just start throwing draft picks around and grabbing all these big names and trying to, sell tickets, if you will, in LA. But the truth of the matter is that there's a reason that the Green Bay Packers have been successful for the last
there was a great
4
tweet out there. There was a great tweet that the Rams play Madden football. We play real football.
Like we do.
That, I mean,
you know what?
That's literally what it is. And
can we give some credence to Brian Gutekunst? Should be given the Executive of the Year award now. I don't even care.
He's dealt with the drama. He's dealt with the great roster, and that's why Matt LaFleur deserves Coach of the Year, because he's dealt with
Campbell,
the drama, dealt with the roster. Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. And that's what's awesome. It's been like what? It's been different guys, different weeks. It's been the Devondre Campbell a couple weeks, right? Now it's been the Rasul Douglas for like a couple weeks. It could be Gary the next couple weeks. Hopefully it's Preston. I mean, Preston has been making an impact everywhere. Savage has had how many interceptions, and then now you could potentially get Z or Ja back after the break. I mean, obviously those
guys. Every time they show those guys, they're jogging, running, throwing footballs. I mean, come on, get them in the game. Let's go.
Well, you know that those two guys are just itching, because
they see the victory.
I want to get out there. I want to play. I want to play with these guys. Like it's electric.
As you guys know, the Freezer Podcast is brought to you by Artec Ventures. The goal at Artec Ventures is to collaborate closely with founders throughout all the investment and fundraising stages, turning their visions into successful companies. Since 2020, Artec Ventures has helped turn great ideas into profitable businesses and make an impact on industries, communities, and beyond. Artec Ventures. Yes, I mean we need to have a defensive one now. We need to have like a Kenny Clark one. I mean, that we'll talk about that right now, actually, because we'll talk about the offense now, guys. And this offense line, let's start with the offensive line. Our resident offensive line coach over here, Mr. Fred Thurston. And Fred mentioned it earlier. It's these guys that are stepping up. And we didn't even mention Yash, who's been on the practice squad for how many years now. And that's a Gutekunst like thing too, right? A guy that they just trusted, believed in, and obviously that's coaching staff too. And Steno, and the fact that they've groomed this guy up. And then what did Roger say in the break or in the presser? I kind of forgot about Yasha on the left side. And that's obviously huge respect to him. And that's a third string tackle, guys. That's a third string tackle. The offensive line against that vaunted, defensive line that they have, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, all those guys. I mean, that was supposed to be like their game to have on us, right? We just lost Elton Jenkins. We don't have David Bakhtiari. We're pretty banged up. There's a pretty inconsistency in the guard play, but they held up. They held their own. Now, obviously, Rodgers threw the ball a little bit quicker out of his hands, but first, real quick, Fred, offensive line, your thoughts on them. I mean, I know you've praised our guards and our tackles here and there, but you haven't said anything. You haven't talked about One Punch Turner in a long time. You really haven't.
Billy boy.
And that might be a good thing for Turner. I mean, hey, Billy, if you want to come on the show, we can talk about it. But Fred, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, no, I'll give all credit to Turner. You know, he's quietly just does his job, and he's done really well. He's done really well. He seems quicker. He seems faster. And I just don't see any issues with him like we saw the first, year that he was here. That being said, yeah, the Yash thing is so intriguing to me because when he got brought in to the Packer organization, I remember I reached out to him because I thought that's an easy get for a podcast, right? This was pre-freezer podcast time. And I talked to him a little bit. He said he'd come on. It never ended up happening. I don't remember. I probably thought, who cares? This guy's not going to be, diddly squat or whatever. But I remember talking to a few of my buddies and they had heard through the grapevine that, super, super, super raw, but the coaching staff loved him. They just thought he was big. He was athletic. There was so much there, but he was at least 2-3 years out and just being able to figure out the basic, whatever he needs to get to. That being said, they stuck with him and they kept him on the roster now for these 3-4 years. And he's gone out and he had a dominant game against with Bosa and the San Francisco front seven. And then to go against, arguably two Hall of Famers in Von Miller and Aaron Donald, and between him and Runyon to just absolutely control that left side was pretty much incredible. And I think it brings up a lot of, you kind of have to start to think about, like, what's the future here, right? Like, what's the future with this offensive line? Because obviously you have Bakhtiari and he's an absolute, Hall of Fame type talent. And you have people like Elton Jenkins, you have Runyon, you have Josh Myers, who you just drafted. You have Yash, I can't say his last name because I got too much spit in my mouth. You got Billy Turner. You got a lot of talent there, and there's going to be a changing of the guard here soon, but it's still, to me, it's just remarkable what they're doing on that offensive line against some really talented defensive fronts. I mean, these are like, we've gone against some of the toughest ones, Chandler Jones, Bosa, all that, and they've succeeded every time.
Go ahead, Matt.
I agree. I echo all those sentiments. And regarding the future, I kind of think they already have their future offensive line in house, and they're already kind of starting to play with kind of how the musical chairs have gone. I mean, Elton Jenkins is young. Yep. Everybody playing. I mean, the big reason why we are where we are is because of how well they are playing. And one of the big concerns going into this game, and we all shared it, was going to be that front seven of the Rams versus the Packers, offensive line 1 week after losing Elton Jenkins and having to shuffle everything again. And really, honestly, guys, I don't really recall any of their big name defenders up front having their names called all game long. I mean, I think the most notable thing Aaron Donald did was choke Lucas Patrick and not get a flag for it. I mean, same thing for Von Miller. His big play was the roughing the passer on Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Well,
and Leonard
on the
Floyd,
yeah.
Never heard his name. So it's like just completely obliterated that defensive line. I will say they were tough in the run game. AJ Dillon had to earn every single inch he got. But outside of that, guys, they completely neutralized the biggest strength of the Rams. And that is noteworthy. And they've done it several times. And so I think it's out there now that this is an elite unit, despite having really the two best guys out.
Well, I feel like this was like one of those like games where it's like, let's do this for Elton. Like, let's just like everybody doubts us because we lost you, and let's just go do this for him, and let's go give a performance of the lifetime. Because hey, after this, we can go get in the cold bath after this, and we get to have a nice week off. Let's just get to let's get through. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I know what we have Bears after this, but I think this is a performance, obviously, by the offense line that you have to give credit to Steno as much as you can, because you know what, Matt LaFleur, I mean, this is obviously stems from Matt LaFleur and picking the staff that he had, but Steno has done such a great job these last 2 years. It's remarkable what we've done with this offensive line, and it's a credit, obviously, again to Gutekunst for drafting these guys too. So it's draft, develop.
You made my point.
Right.
You made my point. It's the system working. They're drafting the guy. They have the coach in line who can coach him up, and then the player gets in the game and executes. That is what you need.
So you're saying that draft and develop works.
Yeah. Imagine that, LA.
Ooh. Wow.
Hey,
what else? Let's talk. Well, I was gonna say let's talk about the past the front seven. Arguably the greatest corner out there too. That didn't look like the greatest corner out there too.
Put him on skates.
I mean, Rodgers targets, Ramsey, I think 7
right away.
Times.
7
No question, 7 for 7, and then 5 for 5 with Devontae. Devontae straight owned him again.
That was
at what point?
That was never a doubt.
No, it's never a doubt. But like, it's just it blows my mind because it makes me feel like a dumbass again today, but when you look at it, like from last Monday, dude, makeshift offensive line, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, and yet here we go in, and it looked like we were playing.
They were never scared.
The Lions.
We were scared.
Unbelievable.
Fred and I were scared, but they were.
I'm not scared anymore.
No, I know. Hey, that's the thing, right?
I'm not afraid anymore.
This is the humble pie that Fred and I can eat, right? Mainly Fred, but like I think.
He's never
eaten a lot of pie. I love to it. She's like, I'm like, fast shooter here. All right. I just think it's one of those things where this team, this offense, who has been struggling. Let's get into the offense right now. It has struggled in the sense of like what Matt said earlier. There was 52 points that could have been had. Let's just be honest. Like we could have probably put up for sure a 40 burger, but maybe even sneak into that 50 section. I don't know. But the fact being is you get turnovers, you got to make points out of it. Obviously, there was the one miss by Mason Crosby. We'll talk about the special teams last, but the points and it's the clock eating, and then the goal line, the red zone, which is no longer called the gold zone, mishaps. That's my only little concern moving forward. I think obviously once you get a Bakhtiari back, maybe you have a little bit more protection on that left side and you have that extra couple seconds to throw. I don't know if that's the thing. I mean, Yash has obviously done a nice job, but when you get the big horse back, it definitely makes a difference, but that is a concern. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Aaron Jones or whoever it is, AJ Dillon, whatever it may be, the fact being the same is that we're not pounding the rock with this big ass, bruiser when we could, and then we're still throwing it. And the throws that we're making, it seems like they're not the high percentage ones. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, yeah, I think that the red zone
I'm talking red zone
are
only, red zone.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that that's something they got to solve. I'm comforted slightly that the last 2 weeks, they got over the 30 hump against the Vikings, and then they came out on fire against the Rams and I think could have scored 50. So I'm trying not to crap on them too much because forever they couldn't get over 24 points, and now they finally done it and got over 30. But that is something that's something they need to solve because honestly, they won the game by 8, but you had those moments late in the fourth where like, oh shit, like they can't put them away. They can't put them away. They're letting them hang around. And we've seen games in the past where the dam breaks and then they give up that
that's what I'm talking about. The defense
didn't happen,
and they didn't do it. They didn't put them away in the third and the fourth quarter.
Yep, got to end the game, got to go, because they had scored a touchdown on any one of those possessions down the stretch there. The game is over. I mean, handily, it's done. Doesn't matter anymore. But they couldn't get it, and they had to rely, thankfully, on the defense of getting it done. But I agree. I think going forward, that's something they got to clean up. But I'm happy they're scoring points now. The last 6-7 quarters now, they've been kind of on fire. I forget the tweet, but it was like a lot of touchdowns, really no punts.
Yeah, what's Rodgers' stat right now? He's like over 700 yards. Something obscene. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and only 1 day of practice.
It's the best stretch of football the offense has played, I think, all year.
Yes.
This last game and a half.
Anything you want to
add? I would just say that we're trending up. We're trending upwards. We're scoring more points. I mean, obviously, there's definitely a concern with what's being left on the table. But I would imagine, and I feel pretty confident that that's going to get cleaned up at some point, whether or not it's. We still have to remember that Big Bobby touchdowns, man. I know it's not the big, that's a big piece. Like that was a big red zone target. That was a big moment, to lose him is very difficult. And I think we see that a little bit when it comes to not just like how many catches and touchdowns he had,
right,
but how much he opened up the offense and kind of made things different. So
you've seen like the hesitancy maybe of Rodgers that he's not going to Josiah as much. I mean, he had the huge touchdown last week against the Vikings, and which was awesome for him, but he still doesn't see. I mean, he had the big fourth down. I'll give him that. The 4th and 2 conversion, he got it right there. I mean, that was a hell of a throw. That was a lot of trust in there. But yeah, you're right, Fred. There's just not been any kind of tight end, production. You got the couple Mercedes Lewis catches where it's like he literally moves like a sloth and he's tackled. I mean, I still love the guy. Big Dog's awesome, but there's just minimal there, and that's a little concern too, just in the sense of that's a position that your offense does utilize a lot. And I'm wondering where that production is going to maybe come in this.
Lazard. So we talked about it.
Lazard. Right.
Let's move Lazard into that position. He's already built the way that he should be built.
Waller.
He's built like a tight end. He's a hell of a blocker. It wouldn't be a massive change necessarily for the position that he's in. It would be almost actually kind of interesting to kind of line him up and then motion him out. He'd have a lot of mismatches, he'd have a linebacker on him. Good luck.
All right.
Well, and if you did that and moved him to like tight end, that gets EQ on the field, who I think has kind of earned some playing time, and he's really had or has the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And I think he's added some weight. He's more muscular. He's much more confident on the field. You saw it on special teams. He's flying down there and getting some tackles. So I would love to see them try to maybe invigorate a little bit of life there and get Lazard maybe into a tight end role and get EQ on the field.
Yeah, further with that, Matt, maybe you even get Amari Rodgers on the field too a little bit. I don't know what the severity of Randall Cobb's energy is going to be. I mean, obviously that was a groin to take him out of the game. Hopefully this week and a half will kind of be enough, rest for him, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, this offense does still have a lot of potential. I think whoever said it, maybe it was Aikman or whoever it was, I don't think we've seen the Packers play a full game yet. They haven't played their best football yet, which the scariest thing right there. We've played so many good defensive matchups, and we've shut out a game because of defense, or we've had the offense go off for 4 touchdowns like last week. I mean, we lost, but and the fact being the same is we still haven't played like a full football game. And that's the scary thing. But that's what we kind of said last year too. I felt like we always kept saying that we were never fully like playing 4 quarters of football. And then it felt like, when it was already NFC Championship game and we lost. Like, I really hope it doesn't do that again this season. I do think this roster is better than last season, in my opinion, even though we did lose Elton Jenkins. But I think this is the fact that the reserves are showing that they can step up in big moments in the event of an injury, let's say late in the season. That's the big thing, right? Like, these guys are getting so much time now in the absence of their big dogs that if there was an injury come playoff time, it's not going to be a panic, right? It's just going to be a plug and play kind of thing.
Just think about just look at the secondary to that point, Sanjay, about getting guys back and having, secondary players playing huge roles. Look at the secondary. You get Jair Alexander back and you pair him with Eric Stokes, who's been excellent, and then Rasul Douglas is your third. An issue last year when we went into the playoffs, it was Alexander and nobody else. They had nobody else really to cover. And so you couldn't cover Mike Evans.
People are attacking King.
And all.
Right.
Exactly. And so if you minimize King getting on the field with those 3 guys, that is colossal. I mean, that's a huge difference from last year in the playoffs.
And that's not a bad thing to get Kevin King back. And
if it's your 4th guy, pretty good. Right,
exactly. And you're still looking at Chandon Sullivan. I know he had a rough game last night, but you also look at, Jamar Jean Charles. You have depth now, and you got Henry Black. I mean, this is like as deep of a secondary I've seen in a long time. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this game because we don't really have a game to talk about going forward. So, because it's the bye week, but don't go anywhere, guys. This is the Freezer Podcast. The Freezer Podcast is brought to you by Lakefront Brewery. Lakefront Brewery is one of Wisconsin's largest crafter breweries. Since its founding in 1987 by brothers Russ and Jim Cleach, Lakefront has earned numerous awards and created many industry firsts. Currently, Lakefront Brewery offers more than 20 different beers in 30 different states and several countries. Lakefront brewery tours are among the most popular in the United States, with over 100,000 taking the tour yearly. Unlike most brewery tours, Lakefront was one of the first to offer beer before, during, and after the tour. Brewing flavorful, high-quality craft beer has been their passion for over 30 years. They'd love to tell you their story over a pint and a tour the next time you're in Milwaukee. Visit lakefrontbrewery.com to schedule your tour today. We are back. This is the Freezer Podcast. Thank you so much, everybody that's joined us. We have a lot of new faces in the chats today, in the chat, and obviously watching. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys giving us an hour of your day to spend with the 3 goons like us. But you know where to find us. Here's our Twitter handles right below us. You can chat and communicate with us. And obviously, you can find all of our content through the Sweep Studios page on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and we are here and a proud show of Game On Wisconsin. So follow everything that's on Game On Wisconsin. We have plenty of shows and slates and guests of every kind of caliber on different shows all throughout the week. And we do also have a website where you can check out a lot of our writing and, articles that we put up. So
get some merch.
And get merch, obviously, too. Check us out on our Teespring page of Game On Wisconsin, but also of the Freezer Podcast as well, because you know what? We have some pretty awesome stuff. If you guys like shirts and sweatshirts and cups, and I don't even know. There's everything on there. There's even leggings for all the women out there that like leggings. So, real quick, because I didn't know if we were actually going to do this, and it ended up happening, but we got our first question. Hey!
That was pretty good.
Fred wasn't as excited for that.
What was that?
I don't know, man.
If you heard,
Hey, everybody, thank you so much. I mean, I know our Twitter page, you can follow us on the Freezer Podcast at Podcast Freezer. We'll post a lot of things on there as well. But hey, if you got questions that you want us to ask, or you want to ask on the show, please throw it in here. And we got our first question of the day. It is from @Gooseborn1. All right. So I don't know who that is, but hey, thank you for being a follower of the Freaks Podcast. Which Packer player which Packer player that was on the field on Sunday has the biggest disappointment this year? Please don't take the easy way out and say Crosby. Okay. I wasn't gonna go with Crosby, so I mean,
oh my god,
that is the easy way out. So good job, Gooseburn. But guys, that's a really good question. Honestly, we're always talking about the stuff that we're praising, but sometimes we got to be a little bit critical. And so why don't we all pick a player, and maybe we might have the same one. Who knows? But Fred, why don't you start us out? Who is your player that has disappointed you this season?
Oh man,
I feel like Matt already had his from.
I know mine.
Yeah. Do you want Matt to go? If you need time, you let
well,
Matt
no.
go.
So I guess that when I think about it, no one, I don't know if anyone's really ultimately disappointed me per se. There's one guy that I feel like is probably where Matt's going to go, and I feel like I'm just going to let him have that one.
Expectations, maybe your
Just
expectations have been.
Just do it.
But that's my point is I didn't really have a whole lot of high expectations for him. So I'm not really that concerned with him. I will say, the one that I guess I would say my biggest disappointment would be Jair Alexander, just because he's not out there and he's not playing.
Whoa!
So,
but I mean, not got hurt.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not mad at him. I'm not I'm not pissed. I'm not gonna burn his jersey.
Seems like you got a little issue that you want to get out.
I would just say that my expectations for him this season were electric, and him not being out there is a disappointment and a bummer.
I mean, the first 3 games he was electric.
Absolutely, but he's not been in there since then. So in that regard,
I definitely didn't think you were going to go that route.
But no, I mean, I still love him. I still think he's the best corner in the game. I'm just disappointed because I want to watch him. I want to see him out there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Fun as shit.
Well,
so
I'm curious to see if we were thinking of the same guy here.
Matt.
We were,
but like you, mine was like what I thought the player would do, not necessarily I think that they're junk. But Aaron Jones, I thought he would, coming off getting a big fat contract, I thought that he would be a little bit more productive. I think possibly this is influenced by the offensive line issues, right? They've been not what they were last year, and so the holes have not been there for him. And then obviously the emergence of AJ Dillon kind of come to fruition. So I love Aaron Jones. I've gone on record saying that I think when the offense goes through him and he's playing well, they are at their best. And I think that's why they haven't played their best, because he hasn't been at his best.
Let me ask you this really quickly, just to follow that up, because I think I ask this almost every year, and I'm still a firm believer that this happens. But do you think that there's any chance? I mean, obviously, do you think there's any chance that there's a pitch count type situation there? Not a drastic one, but do you think hey, we're going to save some of that goodness for when the playoffs come, because he can be so electric and he's so good catching the ball, but we haven't seen a whole lot of that this year. And it's been kind of
right.
He's
That's
so
kind
little.
of thing
I fear having him, get the 25 plus touches a game, because he's just tiny. I don't want to wreck him.
Well, I think that was the case yesterday.
Last year.
I think that was the case yesterday. I really believe that they saw, I mean, the Rams were hitting. They were tackling hard and hitting and driving guys into the ground. And I think that they looked at Aaron Jones and said, well, there really isn't much room to run regardless. So let's keep Dillon in there. He can take that kind of punishment. I think if you expose Jones to that for 4 quarters, he would have ended up out of the game. So I think yesterday they were watching, what he can do.
So do I have to say a player?
Yeah,
I mean, he did say player on the field, but
there's
other people that are on the field. I actually wanted to say Coach LaFleur. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed because of the lack. Well, because of the
Amari Rodgers,
the inability to score in the red zone. That's my freaking point. All right, that's play calling.
I think it's say Mo Drayton. Way to get around Crosby.
Yeah, but nobody expected him.
Yeah, he would never tweet he would never tweet us.
No.
Yeah, so you did it. You found a way to say Mason Crosby. No, I mean, I don't know. If we had to say disappointment, I mean, I still think he's coach of the year, but it's just
but disappointing.
You probably could have. I don't. Again, we never know if it's a mix of Rodgers or if it's a mix of if who's really I hate using the word blame, but where's the inefficiency coming from? Is it the play calling, or is it the guy under center who has a lot of green light and power to change at the line of scrimmage, and he's choosing to do whatever he wants? We don't know, obviously, but because there's a lot of points out there that could be had, and that could either result in more victories, more MVP talk, or I'm just saying it's just there's so much out there that could have been, like I said, could have had 52 out there probably. Could have had a lot of points on that board, and we didn't get it done. And that's been a lot of weeks. even in the what?
We don't know.
What do you mean? What am I talking about? I just said it's a person I was disappointed. Get out of here, Gerbert. Whatever your goddamn name is. Go to Herbert's and Gerbert's.
Oh, real original.
Jesus.
I would say, yeah,
dude.
like
eat a sandwich, bro.
Not you and you're hungry, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Now we just lost
Anyway.
another listener. Ready to go. Sunday.
He's your boy.
Here.
That's your
He's
boy.
here every he's here
Yeah,
every
that's-
Monday supporting your dumb ass, and I ain't
Yeah,
gonna go.
it's
talk
your
to him.
boy. He's supporting you, bro.
Thanks, Gabbert.
Okay, next.
Yeah, I know exactly.
All right, come on.
Get burned. All right, so we got no game to get to, like, which is
Hold on.
all right.
I want to revisit a conversation. I want to go back.
Yep.
And now that we played this game, do you guys want to talk about home field advantage and want to reconsider your positions? Because personally, I thought this game highlighted
You were
the
really
fact-
waiting on this. Weren't you?
I thought
Yeah.
I did. I was right all across the board. Okay.
You weren't
But
wrong. You weren't right.
specific-
Like nobody's
Hold
wrong
on.
or right.
Specific to home field advantage, it was reported before the game. Matt Stafford banged up, not feeling too great. I thought the cold aided that, and I thought it
He's
emboldened
Matt
my
Stafford.
point.
He just
but
John
regardless,
Stafford.
He was Matt
Warm
Stafford.
weather-
You got to earn
warm
John
weather teams.
Stafford.
how do you not want to go balls out and
I
get
never
that
said I
one
don't
seed?
want
and-
it. No one ever said we don't
Yeah,
want
but you
the
guys
one
are like,
seed.
well, we don't know if we really need it.
No,
Like,
it's not-
I
it's not
get it.
that.
You don't need it, but it just makes it better. For the
Yeah,
Packers.
obviously you clearly could
I
tell
would
that
say
it was a factor, but
this is my
we
this
lost
is my,
against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
this is my take
Yeah,
on
I
it.
know.
Is we are obviously on the path to earn that, right? And so I will be very happy when we do, and I'll be very happy when we get to that point. But by no means am I going to waste my weekly thought process on whether or not we're going to get the number one seed. I'm going to worry about just winning the ball games. Like, I just want to win games. I don't give a shit ultimately what happens. But to your point, is it a benefit? Is it a huge plus? Is it a huge opportunity for us to potentially have an advantage over another team? Sure. But like during the
You gotta
week, like
win
I'm
regardless.
not the kind of person that's like, well, if we win and this person loses, but that person wins. And
yeah,
it's like,
because then you're getting
who
to it.
cares?
Yeah, see, like you're waking up every like Monday morning wondering what the power rankings are, and where the standings
Yeah.
are, and that's
Not
that's
the power
where
rankings.
I don't want
the
to get.
standings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm watching the Cardinals. I want to watch the Cardinals.
I know.
want
I'm
the,
just
and you're
saying, like,
not.
if you get wrapped into that too much, then you're gonna get worried that you have a fear that you can't win on the road. That's what you're telling me. You have a fear that you
No.
can't win on
Are
the
you
road.
picking us to lose right now, man?
Listen, Sanjay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Are you-
Let me ask you a
are you-
question.
are you-
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think if that NFC Championship game was played in Tampa last year, that Green Bay even
That's not a
sniffs?
fair question.
Even
He sucks in
yes,
Florida.
it is. That's
He
exactly
sucks in
why you
Florida.
want the game.
All right, fine.
That's
Okay,
why you
fine.
want the game at home.
But that's my point. You
No,
should
it's
win
not.
the game regardless. You should.
No.
The fact being is, it's out of your control if you can't. I'm sorry. You control your own destiny, right? You just gotta win out, right? That's how you get the one seed. Win out. But if you don't get it, because let's just say the Cardinals stay at 2 losses or whatever the hell they're at. I mean, you're a 2 seed. You have to go on the road at the last game. So what are you telling me? Like, you have to go win that. You're just gonna,
Well, obviously,
win by play?
but do you really think I'm arguing? Well, I want the home field advantage because I don't think we can go on the road and win. And if that's what you pulled out of what I'm arguing, that's insanity.
Well,
Not
that's basically
anywhere
what you were
close.
saying. You were saying,
No,
but that's what you
no.
were saying though. You're like, I only want the 1 seed so we can have home field to them.
Not only, I'm saying the Packers won a Super Bowl as a 6 seed and went on the road for 4 games and won 4 games. I clearly understand what
they
they can
play
do
2 of
and
those
how
games
that's
in a
done.
dome.
But this
One
year,
game, one
specifically
game.
with all you don't have like the Bears are good. You don't have like another, the Giants are good. It's all these southern warm weather teams, and you want them to come up in the coldest shit Lambeau
Right,
Field
yeah, of course.
and all
But you
struggle
also
together.
have Lambeau South. You have Dallas. You have Jerry World. That's Lambeau South, right?
Yeah.
You don't mind going there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind going there.
Yeah,
Plenty of good memories.
exactly.
Anyway,
don't
I
mind
just
that.
wanted to. I just wanted to come
You're
back.
right.
To that
You're
for a
right.
second.
Obviously, I want to play in Lambeau Field. For God's sakes, yes, that's true. But we lost at Lambeau against a warm weather team. They came
Mhm.
up. Granted, we lost Bach, but they literally said, "Look, we're going to attack Kevin King, and we're gonna make him look like a chump, and he ain't gonna get 100 mil. So then he did. He never got 100 mil. He got like 3 mil. All right, so what? Okay, so we obviously have the 9-3 record. We are sitting at the 2 spot in the NFC. It's really interesting. I hate bye weeks because you're just like, I mean, I guess you can get a lot of things done around the house, but you're just watching football. And you're like, well, this is all just meaningless football I don't really care about. But I don't know what the slate for football games are, but I know Matt will be watching the Cardinals lose because he wants that 1 seed. So
yeah, don't worry, I'll tell you while you're you're twiddling your thumbs doing something else.
Hey, I'll be putting like Christmas lights or something up, and then
there you go. You do that. You go ahead and do that.
What the Cardinals did. But hey, tonight you got the Seahawks versus the Washington football team, which no one gives a shit about.
Who cares?
So, yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you spent an hour with us because you know what? We're a little bit better than the Seahawks.
A lot of bit.
Does that like bother you that you have to say football team every single time? Like,
yes, just pick a name. I don't even care what it is. Just pick a name.
Yeah, Warriors or like I
don't even care. It's going to be dumb. Whatever it is, it's going to be stupid. Everyone's going to laugh at it.
Last thing, Fred, we wanted to get your take on this. So, primetime games that have been predicated by the schedule makers, and if you've looked at some of the games that have been like really like slated as the prime games, and now they look like dog shit because of injuries or that they just didn't perform this year and blah blah blah. Was there anything that you kind of caught your eye as far as like, wow, they really picked this as their they really hedged their bets on this team being so good and needing this prime time slate?
No.
Like the Giants?
Like the Saints?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess they it's like any of us trying to predict the record before the season starts. We all look at it on paper and we say this could be interesting and there's some good players coming up and they drafted this guy and they're excited about this guy. So I think they try to it's a combination of predicting a really good game and talent and also probably trying to spread it out a little bit at some point. Because if you're realistic, then the Bears would never play on prime time, and the Giants should never play on prime time, and the Jets should never play on prime time.
5 a year.
Yet they get it because it's New York market.
New York market. That's bad football.
So, but I agree. So, but
it's bad football.
It is what it is. I guess I don't know. I don't really care for Sunday night games and Monday night games anyway for the Packers. I'd rather have my nooner games and be good with it. So,
I honestly, I mean, I think the night games are like a cool media thing, but I
prefer
as an adult, I'm like, give me a noon game. It's funny because the college football has no problem putting the biggest game of the year at noon
at 11 a.m. 11 a.m.
Yeah, Michigan, Ohio State. So, I mean, clearly they don't think Under the Lights is anything good. So, I mean, maybe they should take that into consideration. Maybe put one game at noon that's just like this awesome. I mean, I guess they kind of do sometimes, but it seems like it's obviously favored to the 3 o'clock and evening slate. But, yeah. Anything else, guys, you want to say? It feels weird when we don't have predictions or anything else to say. I hate bye weeks. I really do. I mean, this is great. We're going into the bye week. We're under a W. Go ahead.
All I'll say is that I'm not going to be here next week, but I will be more than happy to send in my prediction of the Packers winning and heftily.
Maybe you can do a video for us and we can play the video.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to, man. I'd love to.
I would say to Packer fans, hey, enjoy the off weekend, do some stuff, whatever you got to do. But remember something. This team is a Super Bowl contender. This team can go all the way. Any doubts you have going forward, I would advise you to cast them away and just enjoy it. And the Bears absolutely suck. They still suck.
Yeah, and Matt still doesn't have his green screen. So remember that, folks, that Matt still doesn't have a green screen. He still has
Hey, Christmas is coming. Christmas is around the corner, baby.
Hey,
with that being said, stuck on a boat.
I'm Sanjay. That's Matt. That's Fred. This is the Freezer Podcast. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.